Just another fucking day in paradise, brother.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're setting ourselves up for a hard hour out because both of us are fucking exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to keep it tight here.
We're keeping it tight. I spent freaking what felt like 4 weeks in court today for the Eureka Street trial. But anyway, what should we do? What do we got to do? We got to say that this is Outdoor Cats.
Outdoor Cats.
The podcast is Outdoor Cats. My name is Bill. The other voice that you're hearing is Chris Ravage. Today is the 10th of February. It's a Tuesday. City Council.
This is episode 54.
Is it 54 or is it 50?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 54. I checked.
Wow, you checked. That's great.
I did.
Look at that.
Yeah.
We're doing, that's called due diligence, Chris. Man, all right. So we got a couple things we want to talk about, but let me just dump what's in my head about this trial right away.
Dump what's in your head about this trial right away. Try to make it take at least 75 seconds because I'm going to mute myself and get myself some water.
Okay. All right. So Chris apparently does not need to hear this part. So don't tell Chris what I'm about to say. All right? Don't tell him anything. This will be a secret between me and you, the listener. But I'm really happy that Chris likes doing the show with me, and I hope that we keep doing it for forever because it's a lot of fun, even when it's not fun, like today. And it's been a really good addition to the newsletter, I think. So don't ever let Chris know that I was just earnest with my feelings there. Because when he gets back, I am going to be talking about how I was in court today for the the jury trial of Atel Haji and Ashley Spring. So I should say, first off, that Ashley Spring, for the charge against them for assault on a police officer that got dropped down from assault with a dangerous weapon, aka water from a baby's bottle, Ashley took some sort of plea deal and has probation until May 8th of this year and has to do 40 hours of community service. And the charges will be mostly dropped in the weird way that they're mostly dropped in Massachusetts, which is...
Boom. Not guilty. Y'all gotta feel me.
Yeah.
As Jay-Z said.
A couple got Noel Prosecuted, which is... I don't know. That just means that they go away. But the two main charges were dismissed conditionally. So that was wrapped up in the first, 10 minutes of this thing. The rest of the day was spent hearing from Worcester police officers their feelings about Eureka Street and why they were there. And they were very explicit, all of them, that they were there to help the deportation proceed. They were there to get people out of the way of the deporting vehicle. So I guess...
Whoa, that's not why they were supposed to be there.
I mean, that's not what we heard from our city officials after. There was Worcester police don't collaborate with ICE. which is, it's strange to hear that from our, mayor and city manager. And then to a T, every single cop on the stand uses the term "we" to describe both Worcester police and the ICE agents at Eureka Street. They just used "we." The lines were drawn first by Officer Hanlon, was the first one to take the stand. Straight up says, "I didn't see Attell assault Shauna McGurk," even though the special prosecutor from the Northwest District asked explicitly a couple times, being like, but did you?" And he said a couple times, "No, I did not see it." And then Stephen Gagne from Northwest DA was like, "But did you?" And then at the end of it, Pat Hanlon said, "I didn't see it happen." And then Stephen Gagne gets up and tries to save face and says, "Well, the body camera faces one way, but your head can turn side to side, right?" and Pat Hanlon was just like, "Yeah, sure." But like, he didn't say my body camera didn't pick up footage of the assault. He said, "I didn't see it." And that's what every single other person said besides the officer that was apparently allegedly assaulted. Now, Chris, I don't know if you had time to look at the body camera footage of that.
Bill, I've had so much time to look at all of the body camera footage, and I know you've looked at it 50 times more than I have, and more than any human being should ever have to look at such a thing. Yeah, so two things. First, just back to Ashley quickly. I'll just say, you know this, I don't think it's under the podcast. Ashley's attorney was Carl Williams. Carl is an old and dear friend of mine. Carl and I worked together at the ACLU of Massachusetts for a while. Carl is my attorney, insofar as it is agreed that if I get clinked up, my one phone call is to Carl Williams, and Carl's going to handle it. There's no one, I trust Carl with my life, literally. And I've thought about this a lot. And yet Carl watched that video a lot of times too. And Carl and I had a lot of conversations. I'll just say Carl and I had a lot of conversations about that video. Unrelated to the case, just, talking. It doesn't show any of the things that they said related to Ashley or to Attell. It shows very contradictory things, like, for example, when they said that, she was sprayed with an unknown liquid in the charges, and we know that the officer knew immediately it was water from a baby bottle. Germane to the point that you're talking about. I heard, so I appreciate this update. I wasn't in court today. I've been dealing with a housing nightmare that we'll talk about a little bit later that has delayed us in getting this done, and why I'm a bit punchy tonight. But anyway, I did hear that that basically both sides today agreed in court that none of the body cam footage shows Attell assaulting anyone.
So Gagne has this one clip from Mangra's body cam footage that he has slowed down and pulled out and taken out of context, where it looks sort of like push if you squint. You put it in context and you look at it from other angles, and you see that Attell was up against the ICE deportation van. Shauna McGurk walks up to her, grabs her by the collar, pulls her in, and tosses her in the other direction. And in that process, like after grab, after pull, But sort of during toss is when this out of context, like 1 second clip, Gagny played it maybe 4 times today, being like, see? That's what they're saying the assault is. Now, Shauna McGurk did not do a very good job carrying that water. She said a bunch of contradictory things. The most glaringly obvious, which should have been obvious to the jury, and I think it was, she said that Attell got bumped into her, threw her off balance. And that she said that after previously saying, like a few hours earlier, because her testimony was broken up by lunch, so we had a nice little lunch break in between prosecution setting up a nice little neat story for Shauna McGurk, and then Attell's attorney, Liz Halloran, who was great today, by the way, tearing it to shreds. We learned in the process of that one, Shauna McGurk lied like 3 or 4 times in very sort of insipid, small ways. Like, she said that she only used one hand and that she used that it was like an escort procedure. And then she got asked by Liz Halloran a little bit later, did you put 2 hands on her? And she was like, yeah. Like she was just all over the place. And then she like said that the assault happened at a completely different time than this one clip that Gagny has, where he thinks that it shows like clear as day that Attell assaulted Shauna. Now, Shauna McGurk, in the process of this, also, it came out, and I didn't pick this up even though I literally have watched all of these clips 50 times. It's an ICE agent who tells Shauna McGurk to go take care of that, meaning go rip Attell and the daughter who Attell was trying to protect from ICE and the cops, go rip them off the car, right? The ICE agent tells Shauna McGurk to do that, and then Shauna McGurk goes and does it. The Liz Halloran probed her about de-escalation, and asked her to be like, did you go through all the steps of like the de-escalation process before putting your hands on Attell? And she was like, yes. And then Liz Halloran played the video for her and the jury, and she's like, okay, where? Right? She like the video completely contradicted her testimony of what she did, because she didn't do anything. She just like yelled a couple times and then went up and put hands on her and tossed her. And in her initial report, she didn't even write anything about it. Like, this has been retroactively glommed on after 4 days. After Thomas Duffy has the fucking freakout meeting in the chief's office, allegedly, by another outlet. Not us, you can't sue us. You know what I mean? And that was brought up too. And the Attell might have been the one on trial for this alleged crime, but really it was a full day of litigating what the hell WPD was doing there and what they were trying to accomplish. And I don't think they came out of that looking very good, to be honest.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. So I have so many thoughts, but the first one, I think, the first thing I want to say, a thing that I picked up about this, and having watched body cam footage and bystander footage of, unfortunately, like so many police incidents that it's going to like scar my brain forever, and definitely already has, including watching this one, Ashley, who's become a friend, but Attell, who is my friend, in this situation. Attell, this, physically small person. But Bill, have you ever been in a scuffle?
Yeah, I've been in a scuffle or two in my time.
I've been in a scuffle or two in my time. And I think taking all of the other context aside, what we could say when we look at all this is that what we're watching is a scuffle, a big, complicated scuffle.
Mm-hmm.
And the police are initiating the scuffle.
Yeah.
At every level. They initiate the scuffle. ICE initiates the scuffle with trying to kidnap these people. And people around respond, and the Worcester police show up, and then they initiate a scuffle on behalf of ICE. And if you've ever been in a scuffle, you know that like you kind of get, things happen. Like people get tossed around, someone pushes you, you get knocked over, you get pushed aside, whatever. And the thing that is completely unnatural to do is to hold your body in a completely passive position while it's happening.
Yeah.
So, like Attell getting person handled by this cop, and then her body having the very limited reaction that it has, like that's not an assault. Like how if I shove you into something and your arms sort of go up in defense, like how are you assaulting me? Like it's just patently ridiculous.
Right.
And they had to dig through every body camera to find something that even looked a little like that.
Yeah, and that's the crazy part to me is like this is the best they could come up with,
Yeah.
And I found it to be very grimly eye-opening, and I have a million different things to say about this, and I should say actually that we are recording this on Tuesday night. There's going to be at least a second day of the trial tomorrow. But the prosecution has rested their case.
They did their whole case, and so tomorrow's whatever the defense does, and then closing.
Yes. Closing arguments, and then jury deliberation. And this being district court, it is a 6-person jury. And, the way that I was positioned, I got to watch the jury the entire time. And the Shauna McGurk's own body camera footage versus what she was saying was landing like a fucking lead balloon. And the horror on their faces as Halloran played sort of like extended moments from this. And I'm sure that those people are thinking right now, like, what the hell are we doing here? Why is this the one thing getting pulled out, right? And
I'm really... Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
So this is an important point. So, like, I'm sure that's what they're thinking, like, this one little touch is what we're concerned with here, like just watching 15 minutes of footage and, like, everyone else in the courtroom can't see the footage, but they just hear, like, disembodied screams. I roll for psychic damage every time I hear it now. It's like, it actually makes me physically ill. But what I'm saying here is like Attell's defense, Liz Halloran, a couple times pushed for introducing the political context of this, and at each turn of her trying to do that, the judge and the prosecutor conspired to nip that in the bud. The first time that happened was Gagne for the state opposed the motion or opposed the subpoena, whatever, to have Thomas Duffy on the stand. And the judge ruled in Gagne's favor that Thomas Duffy's testimony wasn't relevant, which is insane, right? And then when Liz Halloran was pressing Shauna McGurk on, like, why was there nothing about this in your initial report, and yet 4 days later, like, the story changes, what happened in those 4 days? And Gagne objected. They had a sidebar conversation. They turned the little noise button on the microphone so you can't hear what they're saying. They come back, and Liz Halloran looks sort of pissed, and they drop that and they move on. So they have done their best to limit the scope of this as much as they can, to disregard the motivations for this charge. So I think the jurors have to be seeing that. And I don't know how that looks good for the prosecution. Like, oh no, don't talk about, don't talk about the actual story here, the reason why we're all here. Meanwhile, you're seeing footage of a small mother standing up for other mothers against a historically unpopular fucking goon squad. And the state is trying to tell you that she's the bad guy. It's crazy.
Yeah. So you answered my most important question, which was how, if you could see the jury, and how, if you could see the jury, which you could, how did this seem to be landing on the jury? So I have a couple other questions, and some comments about, I've been through a trial as a witness, and I've been through a trial as someone working on the trial in sort of like a paralegal capacity, and it was actually a police misconduct or police brutality trial, civil trial. But anyway, so did I think you can say, without obviously identifying them in any way, who is the jury? We've got 6 people. What do they look like?
Oh yeah, okay. So there's 7 people up there because there's one alternate.
Alternate, right?
There is an older guy, sort of with a beard, who looks very skeptical. There's 2. Let me get my mind's eye in order. There's 2 like middle-aged white women who looked extremely uncomfortable watching the footage. And then there's a sort of a white guy, a bald white guy, 50 years old, and then a younger woman who looks maybe like Puerto Rican. I don't know. And then the 7th juror is like a younger, sharply dressed black guy.
Okay. So that's helpful to know. Did you get to be in the courtroom for jury selection and the stuff that happens? Okay. Yeah. So you got to see jury selection. Yep. I'm interested if you want to talk a little bit about how that goes. The thing I want to say before I forget is when I was a part of a trial as a witness, you get to see everything before the trial starts. You can be in the courtroom for that. But as soon as the trial starts, if you're a witness, you can't be in the courtroom for anything besides your own testimony. And the reason is that they don't want you to be influenced by anything else that happens in the courtroom. So the one time that I was a witness in a case, and that was that was a trial basically over, I was at a rally for marriage equality that happened in Worcester, and someone was assaulted by one of the speakers, this like Catholic freak speaker guy who was against marriage equality, who spoke and then came through the crowd and like physically forced someone backwards through the crowd and assaulted them. And I was a witness. So I had to sit out in the hall the entire time that everything was happening except when I was being questioned. But the other trial, I got to be there for the whole thing, and I got to see jury selection, and I got to see all the stuff that happens before the trial starts. And I'm interested. So a thing that really stuck out to me when I saw that I knew, but that like you have to see it to really understand, is how much the jury doesn't get to know about like the totality of everything that happened. So they'll be like, this isn't admissible. We can't know that like it's alleged by other people that Thomas Duffy is the reason that it took 4 days, that after 4 days of Attell not being charged, that she was charged, and that there's this whole political energy behind it. You can't know other things about like the backgrounds of anyone involved that aren't relevant to the case, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So like the jury gets this little window.
Right. So that was a very interesting process, because the 2 questions, that they spent the most time on, were making sure that Thomas Duffy doesn't take the stand, and then there was a motion to disregard, or like that the DOJ report can't be discussed. The state made a motion that you can't talk about the DOJ report because that would lump these Worcester police officers in with all the other Worcester police officers that are in the DOJ report.
Of course. Yeah.
So you can't
that's
talk
the thing
about
that
it.
I was kind of getting at, where you can't be like, there's this whole history of how the Worcester Police Act that was actually like put on paper very scathingly about the Worcester Police Department. None of the jurors can know that.
Yeah.
It cannot be discussed. And if they know that and it's prejudicial to what they would do, they're disqualified. Also, if they know anyone involved in this case, they're disqualified. That comes up in the juror questionnaire. If they have any sort of prejudice against or towards anything, if they really know anything at all about the case, they're not going to be allowed to be a juror.
One of the questions I thought was interesting was that do you have family in law enforcement? Which is like the best question you could possibly ask, in my opinion. And
Yep.
One of the jurors was one of the people who raised their hands for that. And then the first juror that got selected was somebody who I believe said that they had prior knowledge of the case, which I thought was weird that they were let on. But I mean, I'm going to give myself, like, maybe I didn't catch it because the way that they did it was weird. They had like 40 people come in and like asked a bunch of group questions, and people just kind of raised their hands if that applied to them. And then the court officer called out the numbers. So I was jotting down the numbers, and I'm pretty sure that I got it. I got it correct, but I don't know. It's not like the most solid thing in the world, but I think there is somebody on there that has prior information about the case, and there is somebody in there that has law enforcement family. And then they had a series, like a questionnaire for each juror, and a few were dismissed. One, like Latino man, was dismissed rather quickly, which I found interesting. And then a few made it all the way to like sitting in a juror's seat, and then they were dismissed because it's like a board game where each side gets 2 turns where they can just dismiss anybody for any reason or something like that. I mean, like all of those shenanigans are just like where the game is rigged and where it's cooked, right?
Yeah. So I'm really glad you brought this up. This is kind of what I was trying to get at, which is that there are things. This is my remembering this. I'm not an attorney. I'm not your attorney, but I've been through this process. I've literally worked with one of the attorneys who was the attorney for someone charged in this case. And so my understanding is there are things that will just get you disqualified, right? If you have like a prejudice in the case, you're disqualified. If you know someone directly related to the case, you'll get disqualified. But then people get put in the box. And there's a word for what this is, and it's escaping me.
Yeah, I wrote it down. It sounds like almost like Gruyere.
Yeah, I wish.
I don't. It doesn't matter, you know.
but basically, yeah, each side gets the opportunity to dismiss a certain number of jurors for no reason that they have to say. They just get to do it.
Yeah.
But when they do it, another random juror gets seated, and that juror might be better for them or worse for them. And that's the chance that they have to take.
Yeah.
And that's where you get things like you might decide, for example, oh, this guy has a family member who's a cop, but other things about their vibes are making me think that they might be good for me. So I'm not going to take my chance that I get somebody worse than them. Yeah. So that's the game.
Right. And there were a couple people that got on the bench and then got kicked off where I was like, phew. I was like, that right there is a crank, right? That's all I'm going to say about that. But I think that if the state was looking for a jury that really wanted to see the police as the hero and these community members who came out against ICE as the villain of the story, which the state's case sort of rests on, they didn't get that for sure. I think that, the current climate being what it is, and that was actually one of the questions that came up during jury deliberation, was that the state wanted to ask people if they could separate ICE and police in their mind.
Yeah, of course.
Which is like that could backfire on you, right? Because your most conservative person probably can't do that. But there was, and I can't, because that felt like it was about a week ago now when that was happening. So there was something about that. I'll have to go back and look through my notes and grab that part. But after the jury selection, the opening statements were interesting, and the succession of Worcester police officers that got their sworn testimony was just endlessly fascinating. It was actually the first time, if you think about it, any of them have ever had to say anything about what they did that day.
Yeah.
It was all over the place. Also, very, very funny. Sort of poetically, Pat Hanlon apparently is like a little colorblind, and while Gagne is trying to establish him as they ask these really weird set of questions in the beginning to like establish credibility or something, like that this person's going to like answer honestly. It's almost like a Rorschach test in real time. And Officer Hanlon said that the suit that Attell was wearing was blue, and it just wasn't, dude. It was purple all day. Yeah, and everyone in the courtroom kind of chuckled about that, but I think it did sort of serve to severely hamper his credibility. And then he said that he didn't see Attell assault anybody, and he had his own counsel with him, I'm pretty sure. There was a lawyerly looking guy who walked out with him, right?
Yeah, they do be doing that.
So, and he is also like the listed witness in a document. I think it might have been at the magistrate hearing, like the initial criminal complaint, like he's listed as the witness, and then so. But anyway, it was him. He says it, and then we spent a lot of time on Shauna McGurk, who like lied nastily and very frustratingly. Ali Sislo was in the room, and she said that she kept looking over at me. She gave me like a hug after, and she was like, I saw you having an absolute conniption there for a second, because it was like, it was just like what she was saying was just not true, right? Like when she said that Attell pushed her off her balance, it was crazy. So it was Hanlon, her, and then it was Officer Ayer, who didn't really see anything, and I don't know why he was called. And then Officer Lugo, and then the captain who filed the report was interviewed. His name was John Bostock or something.
Yeah.
He's the one who filed the criminal complaint.
Right. He's a lieutenant, I think.
Lieutenant Bostock, yeah. And the state, Gagne tried to explain away the 4 days thing by being like, it took you 4 days to watch all the body camera footage, right? And I don't think anybody bought that. But then Gagne sort of rested his case. And then, after that, Halloran for Hagi calls Eliza Levinson. Oh, shit. I know this person. I have quoted them in the newsletter before. Their first name is definitely Eliza. Their last name might be Levinson. I am so wiped right now, I don't even want to check. So, sorry, Eliza. will get it right when I write about it. She testifies as somebody who was there, because she was there. And she says, I didn't see Attell push or shove anybody. And then Gagne tries to play that little clip where it kind of looks like maybe that's what's happening. And Eliza answered really in a good way. She was like, I'm not an expert in analyzing video. I'm here to talk about what I saw. You know, I'm not here to comment on videos. And then Gagne just played the clip again. Like his whole approach to this is just like, look, it's right here on the video. Don't you see it? And he's like just trying to shut down any other context at any time. And I don't think that that's working on the jury, but I mean, I guess ultimately we'll see. But yeah, and then Halloran called up Sheila Brenner. Sheila Brenner, another woman that was there, who similarly said, I didn't see Attell push or shove anybody, and she was one of the observers from Luce that was there, like how Ashley was, like well before the police arrived. And in her testimony, she says that the scene got so much more chaotic when the police arrived. Like, the police made it worse. And that seemed like a very resonant note with the footage that was being shown.
Yeah. Let me ask a couple follow-up things, or get into a couple follow-up things. I think the thing that we can do with the precious time that we have here today, this is the only time we're going to get to talk about this between, unless the jury deliberates for a week. This is the only time we're going to get to talk about this between now, when the trial is happening, and when we know what the outcome is.
Yeah.
And so I think the thing that we can provide, that like any press release or other thing, or even your write-up, which I'm sure will be great, the things that I think we can provide are just like your raw feelings on having been there today, which a lot of people listening to this probably weren't there today, although I know some were.
There's about 100 people there. Yeah.
Yeah.
People came out.
And that's a big deal. And the jury notices that, by the way. The jury notices when there are a lot of people there for somebody.
Right.
It's why the cops pack the courtroom a lot of times when they have a case where they're trying to hem somebody up. But so I want to run through a couple of things. I'm going to try to remember them all. First, Bill, do you remember a couple weeks ago we talked about a Greek play?
Yep.
Yeah. We talked about a Greek play about a little boy.
Daddy's little boy? Yeah.
Yeah, little boy. And I don't want to get sued. But completely irrelevant to this Greek play about the little boy. A thing that you mentioned that I thought was very interesting is that the judge granted the prosecution a win on a motion whether or not Thomas Duffy could be called to the stand in this trial.
Yes.
It's completely unrelated to the Greek play, but there's a Greek play.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
A thing about being on the stand in a criminal trial is that your ability to be a credible witness is a factor, and there may or may not be a Brady list.
Right.
There should be a Brady list, right? Every other DA has to have one. Our DA says they don't have one.
Right, but there's other things that aren't called a Brady list that are a Brady list.
Yeah, but like a thing that might motivate the prosecution, theoretically, in a Greek play, to not call someone who might be on a list that says that you are a police officer whose testimony can't be relied upon in court because you lie all the time, might be a motivation for why they wouldn't want a little boy in a Greek play to be on the stand in a criminal case.
Yeah.
Am I onto something there?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't want to get sued.
Somebody that I was with, somebody that was there, said they were watching one of the court officers, and court officers are like wannabe cops, right?
Mhm.
The court officer tensed up when the judge was deliberating on whether or not Thomas Duffy would be allowed onto the stand. And this person that I was talking to at lunch said that they saw the court officer breathe a sigh of relief when the judge said that Thomas Duffy can't be on the stand. Now, why would somebody in the greater law enforcement community breathe a sigh of relief when they learned that one of the most powerful cop in the city, or second most, whatever we want to say, definitely first most, is not allowed to speak on this matter that they're intimately involved with? I think that you can infer a few things from that. None of which I will do.
No.
But hopping back over to the Greek play about the little boy. Daddy's Little Boy famously has Daddy's little tantrums. Daddy's Little Boy can be easily provoked. Just the archetype of the character is what I'm talking about, not anybody in particular. The archetype of the character is someone who is a Daddy's Little Boy who expects preferential treatment because they are part of a royalty family within some sort of institution. It tends to be a hothead that's prone to freakouts.
Yeah, if you read the fan fiction about this Greek play, about this Daddy's Little Boy, a thing that a lot of the fan fiction mentions is that this person is like kind of emotionally unstable and they're not really in control of what they do under pressure, which is a good reason why it makes such an interesting Greek play that Daddy's Little Boy is a cop.
Right.
Who gets put in that situation all the time and gets paid like, $250,000 a year to be in that position.
Yeah. But back to the trial, when the prosecution's witnesses were brought out to the prospective jurors, something that apparently happens. Thomas Duffy walked out with the 6 cops who were going to be witnesses.
Wow.
And they all stood sort of on the other side of the fence from the 3 rows of prospective jurors. They all faced the judge and then in unison turned around to basically like stare down the jury. Like they were all wearing suits that were just a little bit too small. They were kind of bulging out of them. And, they were wearing power suits, right? So it really looked like a casino remake, just in front of these jurors, and Thomas Duffy is there with them, and Gagny asks his name, which I found to be weird. And then they just sort of quickly moved on, Nobody said anything about that one. But this was after Duffy learned that he would not be testifying. So it seems like he did that on purpose. Just to show that he can? I don't know why.
Can I give you guys a fun little fact?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of rules about how things are supposed to happen in court, especially when police are involved as witnesses, as members of the audience, etc. And one of those things is that they're never supposed to be in uniform or any sort of like identifying police equipment. That's the rule. And then there's this thing called the Worcester Way. And I'm going to tell you something about a friend of mine who was a public defender in the Supreme Court system. He passed away about 1.5 years ago. Same as Adrian Angus. He's a very good friend of mine, and he was a very, very good public defender. And we lost him too soon. He was younger than me.
Sorry to hear that, dude.
But Adrian... now that he's no longer here, I think he'd be extra okay with me saying this. He would say, there's the law, and then there's what's called the Worcester Way. And the Worcester Way, one of the things with the Worcester Way is that cops show up, allegedly, I've heard this, other people have said it, cops show up to testify and be witnesses or audience members in court all the time in uniform, including in their police uniforms, and then also like their operator tack vests and stuff. So I bring this up to say it's actually an amazing show of decorum from the Worcester Police Department that they were even wearing their little casino suits today.
Yeah. They all of them were except for that. What's his name? McKierney, the cop that got caught flipping off the camera at Eureka Street.
Yeah,
he showed up in his full dress with a leather jacket, a WPD leather jacket, which was
yeah. Oh, maybe he got called off the streets. By the way, all these cops get paid to be there.
Oh yeah, it's duh. I wouldn't be surprised if I found out that they got paid to go to the strip club. They called it like R&R or something. But Shauna McGurk was packing.
Can't be too careful.
Yeah. So that's interesting, right? On my way down the stairs, one floor under floor 4 where the courtroom was, I see all of them in their little mafia suits having this big ring around Stephen Gagne, and they're having a conference down there, one floor down. And as I and another reporter walked down the stairs and they saw us, they stopped talking, and then they just left. Which I found to be interesting. Surely there was no conspiracy going on there whatsoever. Now, in a Greek play, you can imagine
about Daddy's little boy.
Yeah, because Daddy's little boy
and his friends.
Daddy's little boy's post game powwow. What's getting said there in the play, in real life. In this other unrelated story, that's inadmissible and also hearsay. So,
and it's a comedy podcast.
And it's a comedy podcast. It doesn't so much matter, but it does. I think that fiction is an interesting lens through which to interpret reality and real events. And in a fictional sense, it is interesting that the members of the Worcester Police Department would feel so comfortable openly chatting and, planning with a supposedly independent outside prosecutor. I think that is a little bit interesting, but
yeah, my departed friend, if he were watching this Greek play, I think what he would remind me is, there's the way things are supposed to go in a fair and impartial trial, and then there's the Worcester way.
Yeah. Yep. And tomorrow we're going to find out whether the Worcester way prevails, or if these 6 people can see through that to the truth. And I think that the Worcester cops got in the way of the Worcester way today. I think that they did not do a very good job painting themselves as like the good guys here, and it's an uphill battle. I gotta say, when you're right next to the most unpopular and violent federal agency of all time, and you're just saying that you were there to help them, and then you're asking 6 people to be like, yes, obviously, of course you were doing that. Of course you had to do that. That's a tough sell right there.
Yeah.
And I think they're a little blind to that, right? Because they're so enmeshed in like the law enforcement community and the culture and the sort of like norms of that world, that silo, if you will.
It's a very important thing to remember about the police, is that they fraternize amongst themselves. They have their whole own community, and they don't really exist in the world that we exist in.
Yes, it's
and that gives them strengths and also weaknesses.
Right, and I think the weaknesses were on full display here, because like it would be one thing if there was a clip of like Attell socking somebody in the face, right? But like there isn't, because that didn't happen. But they still had to find some sort of charge to fit, a fiction that was being created in real time after the fact. And you can't get through an entire trial without that sort of coming to the surface that this is cooked. Like I said, like these are 6 people who don't know anything. They're watching videos of people getting thrown around by masked federal agents, and they're hearing a prosecutor tell them that this woman deserves to go to jail because she was sticking up for them, and in the process of sticking up for them may have touched an officer while she was being thrown by that officer. It's crazy.
Touched. In a scuffle. Touched.
Yeah, touched.
Allegedly.
Shauna McGurk tried to put a little bit more mustard on it, and it didn't go over well because they just showed her body camera footage right after, and it's super obvious that she grabs Attell to the point that Attell's off of her balance and then chucks her. I mean, like, there's no other way to watch that video and then watch other angles of that and be like, that's not what happened. That is what happened.
Yeah. Having seen it many times, I agree. So I think in the interest of trying to keep us let's relatively around a tight 60, I think we're probably going to go a little over, and that's okay. But
let's move on.
Let's almost move on.
Okay. All right.
I have a question for you, and then I have an observation, and then I have a final question for you.
Okay.
So the question that I have for you is, so the body cam footage, all of the body cam footage that was being played in court today, was being obscured from everyone besides the jury and the legal teams. It was not, the audience couldn't see it.
Yeah.
Yet this is all public body cam footage that anyone can see.
Yeah,
the only people they were showing it to was the people who presumably probably shouldn't have seen it before if they're not going to be prejudiced in the case.
Right.
Do you have any insight as to why that was the way they were doing it?
Literally, I don't think that it was part of any sort of scheme. I think they just had one TV, and the way the room's set up, it's hard to show the jury and the public something on one TV. If they had 2 TVs, then it would have been easy to show the public as well. Not that the public necessarily matters at all. But like I've seen all of these clips so many times that I could like find them based off of the sounds that I heard.
Yeah.
Right? I could like find the moment. And they were saying the timestamps out loud. Like I could, every single video they played, I will be able to find like within a matter of minutes. I just haven't had time to do that yet today. But I know what most of them are. The vibe in the room, you're just hearing women screaming and men shouting at them. For somebody totally uninitiated to it, the audio is psychically damaging and terrible. And I could see on the jurors' faces that they were being visibly affected by it because they're human beings. How can you not be visibly affected by it? And then every single cop that took the stand tried to run with this narrative that like the community was the chaos agent. Meanwhile, it's just footage of them barking at fucking people who don't speak English, right? It's like part of being a journalist is being able to sort of like pull back and think about things in like the sort of the abstract, I guess. Think about like the audience for how things are received, and like if I was putting together this strategy, if I was asked by the state, first of all I wouldn't help. Second of all, I'd be like, you got to play this body camera footage as little as possible, right? Like these people are just going to see WPD acting like jackals. And that's all they're going to see. And I could watch on their faces being like visibly like distraught and affected by it. And how are you going to watch all that and then say, yes, That's the bad guy. That's the one that's on trial. Like, really, it was the WPD was on trial. They put themselves on trial.
Yeah. A little boy, daddy's little boy in a Greek play, allegedly may have put them on trial because
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
because reasons.
Because he
Um,
yeah. I mean, he, somebody at the WPD forced this issue against the better judgment of the chief and the federal attorney for the state. Both of them didn't want to do this because they're smart bureaucrats. But they don't come from a law enforcement royalty family, either one of them. So, I don't think that they felt entitled to being the good guy.
yeah, I think it's worth saying as a point of history that this isn't the first time that we've had a trial like this in Worcester, and a lot of people might not know that. But a thing that I think you're at least aware of, it was before your time, I think, working as a journalist, but there was just after George Floyd was killed, I'm sorry, after Trayvon Martin was killed, murdered, there was a blockade of Kelly Square that lasted however many seconds. It was a number of seconds that was however many minutes his body was left in the street. And so
Yeah, I'm familiar with
there was a blockade. Yeah, okay. So there's a blockade of Kelly Square. I know you're familiar. The reason I bring it up is that there was a blockade of Kelly Square for that many seconds. All traffic was stopped going north up towards the bridge from Kelly Square. And it happened very quickly. I was there. It happened very quickly, and it ended, and then the police showed up. And, like, no one was charged that day. No one was arrested. The cops showed up, and they're like, oh, it's over. Okay, it was like, whatever. And then sometime later, Turtle Boy, Aiden Kearney, wrote about it. And he mentioned 5 specific people who were involved. One of those people, actually, was Kevin Kassen, who I don't think I'm telling any tales out of school here, is Attell's partner. And a longtime Worcester activist. Kevin Kassen that day, I was a legal observer that day. Kevin Kassen was the police liaison. I will cop to the minor crime of having actually stepped into the street. I wasn't a part of the action, but I stepped into the street while it was being blockaded so that I could document things. But Aiden Kearney didn't know who I was at that point. He couldn't identify me from a picture. Kevin never left the sidewalk. Kevin was the police liaison. He was just there to talk to the cops when they showed up. Aiden Kearney mentioned 5 people by name, and all 5 of those people were charged after the fact, a while after the fact. And they had a similar sort of situation on their hands, and everyone walked away from that essentially scot-free. Like it was bogus bullshit, but it was a politically motivated trial by the police. So it was also helpful that you clarified that the reason that the audience couldn't see this wasn't because it was being obscured from them, but just because, like, it's incompetence rather than malice. It sounds like they literally just had, like, not enough TVs.
There wasn't a good way. Yeah, it's just the way the room's built. They just needed one more TV, and then the audience could watch. Instead, the audience just heard disembodied screams and barking from the police.
Yeah. So the last thing I think I wanted to say, we're recording this before we know what the outcome is, but probably by the time people hear this, we may know what the outcome is. The case is probably going to conclude tomorrow. The jury will deliberate for as long as they deliberate. So we don't actually know.
Check WorcesterSucks.email for updates.
Check WorcesterSucks.email for updates. A thing that I will say, having observed trials before, is, and a thing that a very smart attorney who may or may not be an attorney that was representing one of these clients today, told me about juries is that they are weird and fickle, and a lot of times they like to split the baby. They will do things that are not necessarily that don't necessarily make sense because they're like, we don't think this person did all the stuff, but we're not really 100% sure we want to let them off. And I'm not saying this as like, I'm not trying to like be doom and gloom. I fully expect that Attell will walk, and that there is not a legal justification for any of this. But if we see a weird outcome, I just want to like say to people that that's like actually a thing that happens.
Yeah.
Carl was the one of the two attorneys in the police brutality case, the civil case, that I'll drop a link to, that I was involved with in sort of like a paralegal capacity in Worcester. And that's the thing that he told me that I've always remembered. Bill, before we wrap up on this, is there anything else, information-wise or vibe-wise or anything, before you get your written piece up that that we haven't talked about that you think is important to talk about?
No. I think now's a great time to move on.
Okay, cool. All right. So we'll see what happens. I said earlier that I was going to talk a little bit about what's been going on in my life and why we got a little delayed and why I'm about barely coherent. I'm not going to actually do that because we're running out of time, and because I kind of want to hold fire a little bit while I sort of process what the outcome of this situation is. But I'm just going to say
it'll still be interesting when if and when you want to talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just say this: if you've ever seen one of those stories where there's a bad cold snap and like a building just kind of like fucking like falls apart, and like all the systems fail. And you've
Yeah.
ever read about that and been like, damn, that sucks. That happened to me. And it's been happening to me over about the past 10 days.
Yeah.
It started a couple weeks ago with like some sort of general systems, HVAC systems in my building failing, and them having to do a bunch of work that involved them just running extension cords to like all this important infrastructure, just orange extension cords.
Ugh.
And then fire alarms starting to go off during the last cold snap, including at like, 3-4 o'clock in the morning, the fire alarms would just start going off.
Jesus.
I haven't had like a solid night's sleep in at least 7 or 8 days.
Yeah.
And
Crazy.
it culminated in the cold snap this past weekend, where our heat started to fail and like continued to fail, and I was having to call technicians in, and also the fire alarm was going off at random times, and I was having to like be up at 4 o'clock in the morning trying to get a technician to come and like fix our heat because the temperature was just plummeting while it was like 20 below outside, et cetera, et cetera. And culminated the grand finale, I hope, was last evening. Thinking we're kind of out in the woods on this. I'd been telling Bill about all this as it was going on and being like, dude, I can't record. I like all this stuff's going on. I went through the whole Super Bowl with just like people coming in and out of my apartment in like dirty boots trying to like fix the heat and stuff.
Fuck. It sucks.
So I made the chili last night that I was going to make on Super Bowl Sunday, and I'm sitting here waiting for it to finish in my Instapot with like a big smile on my face, like just relaxing. And just below me to my right, as I sit here on the same couch I'm sitting on right now, I hear this like tick, 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 boom.
No.
And I was like, fuck, I know what that sound is. I used to be a firefighter. I have dealt with like what happens in buildings in cold snaps. I was like, a pipe just burst.
It was right under your feet?
It was right under my feet to the right, about 4 feet. It was in the ceiling of the apartment below me.
Dude.
And it was the sprinkler pipe.
Dude.
And it was flooding into that apartment and flooded that apartment out and flooded all the apartments below it.
What floor are you on?
I'm on the third
So
floor of
it's
a building.
two floors then, just flooding
Two
out.
floors, and then below the three floors of housing, there is a garage that's open to the outside on the side that the wind blows in.
Oh, so
Which is not good design.
right, yeah.
So yeah, this happens. I run downstairs. It's like the 10th time that I've been waiting for the fire department to come in 2 weeks. And I hear people screaming on the second floor that the apartments are flooding. And I go outside and I'm downstairs and I call my wife to tell her what I'm seeing downstairs. And she's like, "You should come upstairs. There's some neighbors that came up. One of them is a plumber." So I come upstairs and there's these two they're a couple. They live on the floor below me, one apartment over, and one of them is a plumber. And these people, God bless them, ran up here when they heard this happen to help us shut off our water to make sure that like our apartment didn't start to flood.
Dude.
Um,
That's so
and
sick.
yeah, really cool.
Not all
The
heroes.
neighbors, not all heroes. Anyway, this is what I've been going through. This kind of thing happens. It happened to me. It's been like a crazy, like surreal event. I'm really, really tired and exhausted and kind of traumatized, to be honest. But yeah, this is just what happens here now. I live in a luxury building again. I live in a building that was built in 2023. The
Doesn't
building
sound that
is
luxurious.
3 years old. Yeah, it's luxurious until weather happens in a very predictable way, and then everything goes terribly wrong. I'm gonna hold my fire on the company that I rent from for now, and just say I rent from a company whose name is like exactly what it says on the tin. It's like park your money here as an investment LLC.
Yeah, Windfall Returns. Windfall Returns Housing.
Yeah, it's something very much like that. And the thing is, they built kind of a nice building, and I don't think they built this to be a slum house. I really think this is a perfect story of what happens when you like subcontract a bunch of stuff to like people that don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And like just slap everything together and don't like anyway.
Let's I'm glad you're holding your fire because I would like to poke around a little bit on some of
I've poked around and I would
on some
love
available
to
databases and such to see some things, you know.
I'll send you some stuff on the backside. I have done a lot of that
investigation.
Work. Yeah, and we may be talking about it again soon. But before that, Bill, I'm gonna I need to get up and take a leak, and it's going to take me about 60 seconds. The last time I did this, I definitely couldn't hear anything that you were saying about anything that you were saying, but I just wanted to say, this is so cathartic to me to be able to do this, especially as haggard as I'm feeling right now. And I just like, God, if no one listens to this, I don't even like care. It makes me feel so much better to be able to do it. And I'm going to let you riff on that for about 60 seconds while I just run up real quick. And then we're going to close on something that is a nicer thought.
That's pretty weird. I don't know why you would say that, be all earnest about that all of a sudden. That's kind of that's pretty weird if you ask me. But he told me he wouldn't be listening. He told me he wasn't going to listen, and then he listened. So I feel a little bit like that's a violation of my trust, but I'm not gonna bring it up. And it's not really a violation of my trust either. I am so goddamn tired. Sitting in court all day. I don't know how people who work in court do that. Just are in that room, in that building all day. During the lunch break, I saw people up on the 4th floor with their headphones in, doing laps, like walking around the building like it was a mall. And God, that is miserable. That is a miserable existence to have to be there. every day. That fucking building, dude. The district court building is up on the fourth floor. Let's not get into it. Let's not get into it. You had something nice to talk about.
Yeah, so that was such good riffing. You're just man, you're a natural at this. I this about me. Some people might know this about me. I used to spend so much time in the courthouse, and it's a misery factory. Like, it is a misery factory, and what it makes is misery.
Right.
And I don't know how anyone works there. Like,
Yeah.
it will ruin you spiritually.
What does it say about us that the Misery Factory is the most opulent building on our main street?
What's it say about us that we built this opulent building, and then like we put this old Moses statue in there, and then like within very short order of it opening, some guy freaked out after court and smashed the statue, and then they had to like re-put it together and put it in a much more inaccessible place. And what does it say that recently a guy killed himself jumping from the balcony in there, and it was a guy who had jumped from the balcony in there before.
Yeah, it wasn't the first time, and it wasn't the only guy. As I think.
No,
I think
it wasn't.
There's other guys, and they've added no safety measures at all.
Yeah, it's a place that might make you want a KYS. And it has literally made someone do that. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Wow.
So
you promised to come back with a cheery fucking transition into something fun. and now we're just moving the conversation after just casually mentioning one of the grimmest facts about our city.
Yeah. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Hello, darkness, my old friend, dude. Oh, my God.
All right, here we go. I'm going to take us out with a little bit of dessert after all of our fucking horrific vegetables. Did you see the Super Bowl this past Super Bowl Sunday, Bill?
Yeah, they should have cloned Tommy Brady better.
They should have cloned him better, man.
They you know what, they cloned him with a fast build, but we needed him cloned with a clutch build. Turns out that's what matters more than speed, is showing up when it counts. But
yeah,
the Seahawks defense is so fucking fast, dude. That's like crazy. They're the best defense I've ever seen. They are amazing. They deserve the game. They deserve to win. What can I say?
They deserve to win.
Yeah.
They deserve to win.
The defense won the game.
They're such a good team. Let's be honest. The Pats really never deserved to be there. They won they had a really good season. They won a really good game. They got really lucky in a couple of games. They played Denver when Denver's quarterback was fucking knocked out of the game in a snowstorm. I was just happy to be there.
Fucking, you know what is? I hope this augurs a return to for football in general as a sport. Blitzing secondary is thrilling.
Oh my God.
But a safety or a cornerback that can blitz well, those are thrilling plays. And the Seahawks really have that figured out. Like, fast pass rushing secondary is like, it reminds me of the fucking Ravens, dude, in like Madden 07 era. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep. There are 2-digit numbers of moments in that game that are going to run through Drake May's head for the rest of his life. I hope that he is the next Tom Brady. I hope he has an amazing career. I will say I was the wet blanket in my sports friend chat, like late in the first quarter or early in the second quarter. That was like, guys,
they're gonna lose. It was obvious on the first drive, dude.
We don't got this.
Yeah.
This is not the 28-3 Atlanta game. This is not Drake May is what Drake May. He's not Tom Brady.
Yeah. The end was so depressing. The like last 10 minutes of football, it was just like they just conceded and it got sloppy.
Yeah. And Drake May might wind up being Tom Brady. He might not. But he might. But like, he's green, man.
Yeah.
that was a lot to face down.
He's green and he was
Okay,
facing the scariest defense I think he could possibly face. Like a real return
absolutely.
to form for like an exciting defense in the NFL, which is awesome.
Yeah, so congratulations genuinely to the Seattle Seahawks. They deserve to win that game. If you don't care about football, this is the moment where I am speaking to you directly. At halftime, we had the Bad Bunny for performance.
Yes, and it
I
was.
what what'd you think, Bill?
So okay, so I tweeted this out, so I'm retreading territory. But when I worked at the Sole Proprietor, I had a coworker Kenny who was from Puerto Rico, and he was wicked annoying. And this was like 4 or 5 years ago, and he was always like, "You know, man, Bad Bunny is the best ever. Everyone else is a little bitch." And I was always like, "Okay, sure. I don't know. I don't know anything about Bad Bunny." And he's like, "Man, Bad Bunny. He's got to listen to Bad Bunny. He's the fucking best to ever do it." And I never listened to Bad Bunny. Turns out he was right, and I'm the asshole. Like that guy might be the best to ever do it. That was the most affecting and interesting and well choreographed and impressive Super Bowl halftime concert ever. Step aside Prince playing in the rain for real.
Yeah, there are. I think a lot of times the halftime performance is it's always very very highly hyped. I think it rarely lives up to the hype. Sometimes it makes the hype, and every once in a while it exceeds the hype. You mentioned the Prince performance in the rain. There's an incredible NFL Films video. That's another link I'm going to have to drop, where they just sort of do like an oral history of that performance.
Yeah.
The thing that stands out to me more than anything was it had never rained at a Super Bowl before, like ever in the modern performance of them having like big halftime shows ever. And it poured that day. And they're about to have this performance where they've never had it rain. They didn't plan for it to rain. And they go to Prince and they say to him, "Is there anything like what else, is there anything we can do for you?" And Prince says to someone, this is documented in the thing. He says, "Can you make it rain more?"
It's awesome.
And then he puts on one of the most legendary performances. I would say the most legendary performance until this performance.
Yeah.
The other one that really stands out to me in my mind is James Brown. But let's not. We're running long again here already. So Bad Bunny goes out and puts on this performance. I'm sure everyone has seen it. If you haven't, you just really have to see it. It's an incredible piece of art. Um, so you were telling me this story about your annoying coworker at the Soul. Um, my experience with Bad Bunny was over the past few years. A lot of people that I know, who mostly Latin people, um, telling me like being really excited about Bad Bunny and being like, "Oh, you have to listen to Bad Bunny." And I would just kind of like throw something on real quick, and his name's Bad Bunny, and like all the names of his songs are like half capitalized and stuff. And I was like, I don't know why I'm supposed to take this guy seriously. And then the last album came out, Debe Tirar Mas Fotos. Apologies for butchering that, but and so many people were telling me they're like, this album is incredible. It's one of the best albums that's ever been made, and Puerto Rican people in particular being so excited about it. And I was like, I listened to it and I was like, this is good. It's a good album, but like I don't get it. And all credit to and a friend of mine took a lot of time and effort to help me understand it. My friend Cookie. Um, and I spent the better part of the last year really diving into this album and learning to understand it. Um, there is a short film that he released along with this album, and my friend Cookie went through the trouble of translating the entire 12-minute short film in real time for me in
Cool.
in her specific dialect from Puerto Rico, because you can't really understand it all if you just do English to Spanish.
Right.
The short film is this amazing moment of, well, I'll get to that. Okay, so she translated the film for me. The outro that I want to send us out on today is a track called Café con Ron. It's my favorite song off this album. I've spent a lot of time like diving into the album. It's the thing that the reason I wanted to mention this song is because it's people that hate this kind of music and what lies in the heart of like the bigotry that makes people just be like, this is fucking, I hate this, I gotta watch Kid Rock. Like, it's this fear of anything that's different than the way that you experience things. And it's such a limiting thing. It makes your life so sad and so much less than it could be. At the end of the day, the song is a pride in place party song. And the people that hate these kinds of things, they have songs just like this. They listen to Florida Georgia Line or fucking Jelly Roll. They listen to these songs that are thematically the same, but they just fucking suck compared to this. And it's because they're afraid of something that's different but better.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So Café con Ron is a song. It's a party song. It's from the mountains. It's this kind of music that my friend Koki was telling me. It's what they call musica montana.
Okay.
And it's just mountain music. It's like country music of Puerto Rico.
Like bluegrass, Appalachia.
Yeah.
Appalachian.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And can you go to the notes? I'm gonna get us out of here so quick, I promise.
Yeah, 1 second.
If you can go to the notes and you can go to where I have episode 54, there's a link here that starts with the short film captures.
Short film captures, yep.
I just want, if you play it from the point that I queued it up, it captures exactly what I wanted to capture. And I'm going somewhere with this, I promise.
Okay. You hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Here we go.
¿Escuchaste eso? ¿Escuchar qué? Esa música.
He's saying,
Yo
did
no
you
oigo
hear
nada.
this? That music.
Cabrón, escucha eso, escucha.
Listen.
Eso suena
Wow.
duro.
Sounds very loud.
Mira eso.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Tremendo. Por aquí no pasaba un
Awesome.
carro así con música.
I haven't seen a car blasting
Nacho,
music like
no
that
sé
around
cuánto
here
tiempo.
since, man, I don't know, a long time
Yo creo
ago.
que yo nunca había visto uno.
I think
The
I've
little
never
frog.
seen one,
Ya
said the
eso
The
frog.
también
Coquille
se
says
ve.
he's never seen one.
Yo me emociono cuando pasa uno.
No one does that
Extraño
anymore.
mucho
I get excited
escuchar
when
la
one drives by.
motorería,
I miss hearing a
las
bunch of kids,
motoritas,
the scooters,
el sonido del barrio.
the sounds of the neighborhood.
Bueno, y si eso ya no lo hace nadie, ¿por qué no lo hace
No one
usted?
does it anymore. Why don't you do it?
¿Hacer qué?
Do what?
Dar vueltas por ahí con el músico prendido.
Drive around with the music blasting.
Huh.
Huh.
Thinking
You can
about
stop
it.
it there.
Thinking about it. Okay, I think I
Okay.
know what's coming next.
Thank you for indulging me.
Yeah.
The way I'm bringing this all together, this
Okay.
moment that we can have that's not just dread to end this with, is to say that is the right reaction. This short film, everyone should watch it in its entirety. This short film is about an old man in the countryside of Puerto Rico who is experiencing the island as it's changing and it's kind of gentrifying and things are becoming more like uniform. The thing we've all experienced about the places that we like to live that are cool and unique and different, like Worcester. And he's like, wow, man, that's awesome. Like, I miss that. And that is the way to think about things that will make your life happy and full and worth living. And just having this knee-jerk reactionary freak out about anything that doesn't sound like fucking Leonard Skinner, and is in Spanish, is you're limiting your life. It's not just the wrong-headed way to think about things, and it's not just making our country worse. It's making your life suck.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
You diminish yourself in the process of diminishing other people who are having a good time.
Yes. In reducing other forms and arts and culture and people, you actually are reducing yourself, and you're reducing your own experience in this short life that we get to live. And I don't have anything more to say than that. If you have anything else you want to say, Bill, go for it.
Our city's unofficial motto, which is being represented in this current political moment very well in this trial, is "What, you think you're better than me?" And we could instead be asking, what if I was better? What if I just embraced life? What if I watched the Super Bowl halftime performance, the real one, not the Kid Rock one, not the pathetic one, and I got so juiced up on it, I taught myself how to do a reggaeton beat with my little 16-step sequencer pocket operator.
Yeah.
Ready?
What if I... Yeah.
I was like dancing around. I was like, oh shit, this pattern's hot. And it was fun to teach myself how to do the pattern. And listeners of this episode might remember the intro that they heard an hour and some change ago. And that's when I wrote that.
When I first moved to Worcester, I told this story to a few people recently. When I first moved to Worcester, I was walking around. I was just trying to like take in the place that I lived. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a car. So I just walked around. I didn't have any money. So I just walked around and just, took in the place that I moved to. Mm-hmm. And I kept hearing this.
Yep.
And I was like, what is that hot song of the summer that everyone is listening to? And then I realized,
Gasolina?
I figured out, it was probably part of it was, this is maybe even a little before Gasolina. What I was hearing was the bass beat of almost all reggaeton.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that yet. And then I got to learn about reggaeton and salsa and bachata and all of these different things. And it's made my life so much better. And now we're going to go out on the outro unless you have anything else to say.
No.
The outro is a song from Bad Bunny called Café con Ron. The song opens with these lyrics. This is a party song. It's a song about like going up to the mountain. Song about going up to the mountains and getting fucked up and how it's awesome and how you do that for a night. But this guy does that for a night and then he's like, I shouldn't do it again. But then like he just winds up going and doing it again because it's too much fun. The lyrics to open are coffee in the morning, rum in the afternoon. Sorry, getting there. We're already in the street. Come out to your balcony. And I leave you with this. We're already out in the street. Come out to your balcony.
Come out to your balcony, folks. Just come out.
All right.
All right. We will talk.
Thank you for indulging us, everybody.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. We'll talk again, hopefully with some good news in a couple days.
Indeed.
But for now, I'm going to probably get this episode right up and then go to bed. So,
Bam.
Talk to you soon, man.
All right. Been fun. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
De Arecibo hasta Ponce, de Fajardo a Rincón, es la voz de todo un barrio, desde Almirante a Frontón. Por la mañana café, por la tarde ron, ya estamos en la calle, sal de tu balcón. Que lo bailen en Lloren, que lo bailen en Canales, hoy voy pa' la carretera con tu amigas normales. Por la mañana café, por la tarde ron, ya estamos en la calle, sal de tu balcón. Hoy yo no quiero dormir, lo que quiero
sé ni cómo yo llegué a casa anoche. Clase lo que era. Y hoy me están tirando de nuevo para bajar para allá, pero yo creo que hoy sí que ha hecho pichadera, que no me esperen.
El humo empañó el camino y no pude recordar el camino pa' mi casa. Hoy me vuelves a invitar.
Yo me iba a quedar tranquilo, pero si quieres vacilar, sube tú pa' la montaña, porque hoy yo me quedo acá.
Ven subiendo, que no le vamos a bajar. Sube tú para la montaña, hoy yo me quedo acá.